it up or be arrested.
So folks, when our nation began,
Arrested?
there was some really
You're gonna arrest her?
Just talk for on and on and on. And look at this. This little girl is afraid to leave. She spoke up where these folks are shut this whole program down. Unfortunately, they're being successful. So all of you, the legislators, I applaud you for sitting there and quiet.
These are dummies! Who the are these men?
So how about that? Come on, Musk.
Hey!
It's too bad that we have some other. We know that government has been mismanaging money for decades, and we want to get up there now.
Show your badge! Don't touch her.
It'll be 100 times.
Yeah, that's what they say to rape victims. Use to identify yourselves. Who are you? Who are you?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Guard Tower. I'm sorry that we have not been able to get anything out, but man, me and Danny are busy people.
It's true.
So we have finally had some time to actually sit down and hammer out another episode. So number one, I always thank you guys for viewing and checking in with us. So that is deeply appreciated. But let's get right into it. Oh, wait, I better back up. Hold on. Danny, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Tony?
Yeah, how's your daughter?
She's awesome. She's feisty. She's strong, and I'm praying for her teenage years.
Nice, nice. Out of school, right?
She's great. Yeah, so she's on summer break right now.
Yeah.
And they go back in a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah, I don't miss those days.
Yeah.
So I'm good with that, man.
Lots of summer programs going on.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with all that. So, hey, today we're going to talk about an issue that I saw on the internet, and it did make national news. This happened roughly 1 to 2 months ago, involving private security, involving a elected official, a sheriff, and a bystander. Well, I'm going to say bystander, an individual who was dragged out of a town hall meeting for being disruptive. And I just found it very interesting to see all the different legalities, all the different takes on it. So break it down, Danny. What are your thoughts?
So the article goes into a little more detail than you can see in the video, and it's interesting how video can kind of, even though it's the most, I guess the most dramatic version of what happens is in the video. It's like once you read the details, assuming the details are correct, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So she was basically dragged out of the town hall, but then in the details it explains that she's been disruptive in the past, that she has a history of doing this. Apparently she kept raising her voice, like yelling, interrupting, and at some point I think and I'm sure we'll get into this more in a minute, but at some point your freedom of speech starts to push up against disorderly conduct, and discon exists for a reason. It's because when people are not allowing things to, not allowing the public to engage in some kind of, civic proceeding the way it's supposed to, the way that it's designed to function smoothly, then you're disrupting it. And so I think that's where the disconnect happens, and that's where people disagree on where that line is drawn between discon and just being able to speak your mind and your thoughts.
Man behind the mic, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's similar, right? So I think you and I discussed the disorderly conduct was top, right?
Sure.
Outside of everything else, right? And then we got further into checking out all the background stuff, all the
legality issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this is a fun one.
Yeah,
this one's a fun one.
Hey, just so you know, there are so many things that I see I have an issue with. Number one, okay, it's a public event. Mm-hmm. You might be right. like treading on other people's liberties, right? You're disruptive. Two men who did not identify themselves, and which, like, for me, this is my big pet peeve. Security wearing all black uniforms, trying to look tactical, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. Just like I don't believe in security wearing tactical vests, you know, the outer shells.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're just trying to intimidate people at that time.
Yeah.
Right? They don't identify themselves. They put hands on her, right? Which, as a citizen, you're not allowed to do, right? You have a sheriff, an elected official who's there, right? Who, in my eyes, kind of threw the security people under the bus. Because if anybody's going to be touching this lady, it should be the sheriff. I mean, he has the powers of arrest.
Yeah, and if they're asked to by a, I know we used to go over this a lot at the old security company that we used to work for, but if they're asked to help by an actual sworn peace officer or a sheriff's officer, like deputy, if you're asked to help, you're supposed to help.
But here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
How much help do you give when that person
Yeah.
isn't doing anything? So he basically said this: hey, you two, take her out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to stand here.
Yeah.
Right?
As opposed to him actually
Sure.
in a tussle or something and needs
yeah,
help. Yeah.
yeah.
So in that moment, do you think you have the authority, right? If somebody higher in the echelon, right, of law enforcement, they're law enforcement, they're saying, hey, do this, you're like, okay, I do that.
Roger.
It's a reason. Do you see it as a reasonable request? That's the second one, right?
I probably would not see that as a reasonable request. It's like this: hey, go in that burning building and go find somebody, right? Meanwhile, they're back there going like this. You go take care of that. I'm not going to handle that.
I mean, in that same type of, and this is a private lot, right? So this is different. Let's say we were in the park, we're recording in the park, and we're doing a class in the park for some reason, and somebody just comes and continuously just interrupts. At what point do we can try to move? They interrupt.
Sure, but
Sheriff doesn't do anything.
well, then I would say that we have a lazy sheriff, deputy, and or police officer. To me,
That's fair.
because I would be like, look, I'm lodging a complaint. They're disturbing the peace. You can hit them with a plethora of tickets. Oh my God, city ordinances, whatever. Now you're just being lazy. Like now you're just being lazy.
Does it open up the door for this behavior to just be okay?
If it's not addressed.
That's a good question, because how long do you let her go? How long do you let the hecklers go? I
Yeah.
mean, it could go south on you in a heartbeat. But at that time, what I find interesting about this video is I don't see any other deputized individuals.
No, I didn't notice either.
He just, and here's the weird part, right? The man behind the mic was researching all this stuff. They are not in compliance with any laws, this security company. Like, they got their license revoked in that city because they weren't even compliant. But what I find really weird is it all depends on the articles that you read, right? What I really find that weird about this whole situation now is nobody's claiming who paid for the company. Now, the last time I read, they were saying that this company volunteered to be there.
Oh, really?
So,
Interesting.
yeah. Now imagine this. No, you know what? I mean, imagine if this is your wife,
Yeah.
right? And people put hands on her. How are you going to react to that? What would you say?
I'd have been like, I told you to stop going in there and raising your voice.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be married to that. It would have been like, what are you doing? No, this is not in the pact, right?
Well, I mean, but things happen though.
I'm not seeing.
I mean,
I'm not seeing any insignia on their outfits.
None. Zero.
Okay, that's
wearing
crazy.
all black, and it's actually a company based in California that somebody hired or they volunteered, which if you volunteered to do this type of work as a company, holy moly.
Well, you just brought that question up. Now I'm trying to think, what was she heckling about? What was she upset about?
I think just about what he was saying, and he was lying. I mean, politicians and how crazy people are nowadays, and she just doesn't like what he says, and
Yeah, that's what and that's, I guess, the crux of that, right? Is she doing this in a respectable manner?
well, what's your definition of a respectable manner? Somebody,
Dialogue. Right?
all she's doing is yelling, "No!"
Right.
liar."
She's interrupting dialogue. Right. There's whatever discussion. I go to a speech. I'll go to the graduation. Right. We all saw graduation just stopped. Just ended with a bunch of high schools. I go to the graduation. They're in the middle of doing their commencement speech or whatever, and somebody just with a bullhorn just keeps going at it and at it and at it and at it and at it. At some point, I'm like, somebody kick this person out, please.
I can see that. But then, let's just go back with that. Who kicks them out?
Yeah.
Security, right?
No, that sheriff.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I got some good info on that sheriff, which really upsets me, and it's a different topic, and we'll talk about it as we go along.
Okay.
But who's more responsible for kicking out these type of people in these type of situations? Law enforcement and or security? I mean, we have an individual who works at the Cubs field. What happens when they have a drunk person and they need to kick them out? Does security handle that?
I don't watch
Again, I think
any
we're-
sports.
Well, again, I think we're going into the private and public. Right,
Yeah.
properties. So, and then that was public in that one, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it was.
Yeah.
This is why this one's getting argued.
So let me let me frame it, I guess, from my perspective is even being a municipal security that works for a police department, and has, chain of command that eventually gets to either coming from the police department or somebody who is working on the civilian side or the sworn side. If somebody is really disrupting a court proceeding, we can stand by with them, but unless they're trying to hurt somebody, we're not going to touch them.
Sure.
Right. And if they start trying to hurt themselves or somebody else, then maybe, we'll have to intervene. But that's when the patrol guys get,
Sure.
on the radio and
Right,
they're on
but
their way.
even when you intervene, you're still making that call.
Yeah, the calls
to say,
made. Yeah.
get over here. It's hit the fan.
And that's
Yeah.
that's law enforcement taking over, not
Yeah,
security.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this instance, it was backwards.
Yep.
The sheriff is saying, "Hey, go handle business." So, and then like I say, when we talk the legality issues, is this company being paid now? Are they volunteering? Because if you volunteered, man, these guys are getting sued. I mean,
Did
Yeah,
they?
there's no protections there.
And so what happened to the sheriff? What is it? What's going on with that?
oh, well, okay. This is something else besides security, and this is just like a personal irk of mine, Danny. So step in whenever I overstep my bounds here. Yeah, there's an investigation on this sheriff. Apparently, he's a retired LAPD police officer collecting disability pension.
Okay.
They even said his pension is $150,000 per year, disabled. So this is how I look at it. Now, fine, you did your time, you did excellent. Fine, you're disabled, you can't work anymore. You're making 150 grand. The problem is, as now this guy, he's a sheriff now. He's making disability pay. He should not be making disability pay, right? The clause was this, that when he retired, the clause was that he cannot go back to work in a position of law enforcement.
Okay.
The clause was this: since he's a sheriff, it's an elected position.
Yeah.
It didn't cover, his clause, his disability clause,
Yeah.
didn't cover him going back to work as an elected official.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, I
Loophole.
those kind of things irk me.
Yeah.
They really do. Fine, you did a great job serving the community. You deserve your disability pay.
Sure.
You're disabled now. You shouldn't be working. And if you are, then you shouldn't be doing it in a law enforcement. I personally think it oversteps an ethical bound. Then next to that, you compile that with how this guy threw the security officers under the bus. Man, what kind of person are we dealing with?
He could at least, I don't know if he's made a statement on this or not, because I haven't dug into it. He could at least made a statement saying, that was my fault, I'll take the heat for it. They were just following orders essentially, right? He could at least say that and try to kind of give them a pass, even though other people aren't going to give them a pass. But if he's taking responsibility for it, I would do that at least.
He wouldn't, man.
Yeah.
He's distancing himself because this is political. And in politics, usually they start distancing themselves.
Sure.
And he's a political figure
Right.
if he's a
But
sheriff, yeah.
I also look at it like this. The minute that he says that, you just involved the county. So now you're going after the county. Because right now, he's saying this. I didn't touch her.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, he has better lawyers than security.
Yeah, I didn't touch her. You know what? And if I was that guy, I'd be like this. They overstepped their bounds. Hopefully, there's better video with him telling them to touch her and get her out. But I think when you're dealing with the person that has that kind of integrity, saying I'm disabled, but I want to go to work, right? Stop. Just stop.
Yeah, when you think about disabled, it's either retired, medically retired law enforcement, or veterans going into private security, because that happens a lot, right? That's a very normal path for people to take.
and you know what? I say it shouldn't be allowed. I've had former students who went to the military, got 100% disabled, but are working as firemen. How does that work?
We had a guy at a facility with us, 90%. He was 90%. I won't say his real name, Jangles, Mr. Jangles. He was 90%, and that blew a lot of people's minds, because it didn't. We had guys who were legitimately disabled or had legitimate disability from serving, and with him it was like a numbers game, I think.
So I'm fine with people that are disabled, right? They're getting a disability and making money, but not in a physical form. So if I'm medically retired from the military or medically retired from law enforcement, I shouldn't be going into security, because again, that's a physical thing, and I am saying that I'm disabled, right? Now, if I'm physically disabled, retired in that manner, and then I'm earning income through stocks, that's fine. I'm not putting other people's lives.
Or if it's a different type of work,
right?
Like,
Yeah,
I'm a call taker now.
Yeah, call center. You're a data entry guy. That's fine, but and I get it. Some people just can't get out of that groove, right? That's what they've done their whole lives, and they don't know anything outside of that. But that's not true. I knew a security manager that became a bus driver, because that's what he wanted to do. But two opposite kind of
sides
jobs,
of the
right?
spectrum.
Yeah. So.
It just irks me that's the only good thing I think about when they say clean up the payrolls and clean up all this. Well, you know what? If a guy's collecting 100% disability, shouldn't be working. At least in the industry that he just left, that made him disabled. Because now you're just saying, well, you're taking advantage of it. But hey, that's just my pet peeve. We kind of get off on that. All
right, let's talk about the legality then, and the security guards there. And what state?
Idaho. Idaho. I really think that they're going to go. I think that they're going to get busted. I think that they're going to be found guilty. I really do, because once again, work in security. You're a private citizen.
Yeah.
Right. You can't lay hands on anybody else. It's an assault. And what's really even more disgusting to me, first off, I have to make it perfectly clear if I haven't said it already. I think the guy, the sheriff, is a complete. I don't even know. He just disgusts me. He should have been taking charge of this.
He grinds your gears.
He does,
grinds-
man. He does. Like,
Grinds my gears.
but he does, because he just threw 2 to 3 individuals that aren't as right now aren't making as much money as he is. Not only is he making 150 disabled, how much is he making as a sheriff? Like,
And they don't have the protections that he has. Yeah.
right. And I'm with you. Like, if you want to be a straight up guy, hey, I'm in charge of this. I took this.
Yeah.
But everybody's denying even hiring this company. So let's talk legalities. Let's just start with there.
Yeah.
Was this company hired? Who hired them? What were they doing there?
And
Yeah.
let's look at the state law. I mean, what we researched, at least, or what I was looking at, the state law, right? So for Arizona, who regulates security?
The Department of Public Safety.
Right, DPS, right? So we fall under that. In Idaho, who regulates security agencies?
You know, we don't know. It's by city.
It's by city.
Isn't that crazy?
Really?
So yeah.
How many cities are in Idaho?
Well, yeah, number one. I mean, that's the first question.
And what about county? What if
So
you're
I
in
like
the county
I like
island?
that look that you gave, because that's the same look I gave when I read it, and that's the same look Tony gave when I told him
Yeah.
that, hey, in Idaho it's per city, and that wasn't just security guards, and I think was it like an annual fee or something like that. So you're getting your guard card every year. Every December 31st is when it expires. This is what I'm reading. So if anybody in the comment section, you know more, give us that information. But as far as we were reading, that's what it is. And so if you're going to have an agency, you have to go by each city's regulation.
Isn't that crazy? That's like Mesa, Tempe, Chandler, Gilbert. How do you, as a company, how do you regulate yourself?
Well, yeah, if you're working in multiple cities. I mean, I don't know a single private security company that's only working in one city. I'm sure they're out there, but
Yeah,
I don't know of one.
We're used to commuting too here in the valley, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
I commute from Gilbert to Scottsdale every day. So I don't know. I don't know what to say with
Yeah.
that.
So we don't know who hired them. We know that they're not completely licensed, right? So they can no longer operate into the city because they didn't have the proper uniforms for the city requirements.
Right. It was specific, like you have to have security on the back and on the front, and then it has to be a certain size font for for it to say security.
Right.
And so that needs to happen. We didn't see any labeling.
No.
Nope, not at all.
So that's how the city's going to get them. The city kicked them out, right? Personally, if I'm that lady's lawyer, these are all things that I'm bringing up,
Yeah.
right? And then, okay, let's go legalities. Let's not even talk legalities. Let's talk about training, because we are the #1 security training company in the state of Arizona, Dan. Just want to let you
Ding! I need a bell.
Bing, every time we say, what training did these guys receive in order to even touch her? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you see, they like are dragging her.
Yeah, they dragged her out.
They
It's hard to mince words about that because she definitely got dragged out of the building.
If you asked me, I would have chokehold her.
At least they didn't.
it would have been like,
I would have looked at her and made her faint.
Sleep.
you would have been. oh,
Sleep. At least they didn't have tasers or something. I mean, I think there may have been, it might have been a new "Don't tase me, bro" if there had been
That would have been comical.
more
but
gear
yeah.
involved.
well, and once again, where's the sheriff's backup, the true backup? Where are all the deputies? Where you're telling me that you just have one sheriff and then 3? I'm going to say a goon squad, because they broke every rule that could pass. Which blows my mind is, how can you be a security company, even security company owner, and not know what you're walking into? How do you not know the regulations of where you're going to go work?
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
I have to give our the city, one of the local cities, credit that they have when they have like City Hall, stuff like that, they have off-duty SWAT there in uniform, very obvious that they're cops, and they're just in the back off to the side, like they're just doing their thing, observing.
Do they have outer shells?
Yeah, those guys do. Yeah. I see what you're saying. It would be less. It would be less obtrusive, but at least they're not standing like in the middle of everything. Like they're kind of on the outside, just observing.
And I'll be honest. Personally, it's just my pet peeve.
Yeah.
Anytime that you send people like that, there's an intimidation factor, and to me, we're the public. Are you that scared of us that you feel you need to look that way? Now, there's different ways to be tactical. You can wear an inner shell. You can. I mean, there's just different ways that just make it more compliant. I don't know. It's just my.
I think that's a cool mindset, because I used to work with an old salty officer who he had spent. We called him Patricio. The father. Like he's a great guy. He actually still does some work for the city, but he was an MP. I believe he was an Air Force MP, which is either security forces, security police, depending on what time you got in, for like 20 plus years. Retired, then went through the academy, police academy, at 39. Then did another 20 plus years on patrol in the street. I know. And if you talk to this guy, he doesn't seem jaded. He's smiling, he's shaking hands, like big white mustache. I know. He's great. But like 40 plus years wearing a badge, like I would expect somebody to be like, I'm done. Like I'm not dealing with people anymore. But he's back and doing some volunteer work, and he's on the street with people. He's a different breed, but he hates the outer shell. He hates the outer carrier and the Ramadi look, right? Like the battle ready look. He's like, he always wore his nice, I forget which class it is, but
Class A, Class B,
badge, shine shoes. He always looked good, but he hates that look, and he never sported it himself.
Well, for me, it's just an intimidation look. Like I still cannot believe that security personnel are running around in that type of uniform. If my uniform calls for that type of job, right? And don't get me wrong, wearing that type of uniform, there is a niche for it. It's called combat, right? I mean, it's battle ready. Right. It's called combat. Like you're expecting to go to combat with that type of uniform,
or being on the range.
Could be.
I mean, at least for the outer carrier. Like,
but
I get it.
If I went to go work for a security company and they're like, "Hey, man, you need to wear this outer vest," right? It's 3A, right? So green tip, whatever we want to call the damn thing, 4A, whatever. I would be like, "What are we doing?" Because I just got to hold a pen and a paper. Like
they're like, you better have 3 magazines in the front pouch, kangaroo pouch,
right?
If you don't have 3, you're fired.
And I would be like this. I'm an unarmed guard. What am I doing?
Do I keep my power bars in here?
Right. Right. I don't know. I find it weird, but I also find what these guys were wearing, all black. I find that very disturbing as well.
Oh, for sure.
Just what are you, a security ninja now? Like, and then, okay, you don't identify yourself, like. And then it all goes back to the sheriff. I once again, he failed in so many ways in my eyes. This poor lady is being dragged out, and then he doesn't even do a report or anything. He just said, "Nah, I can tell anybody to drag anybody out anytime that I want." I don't play that game.
I had a realization the other day too. We joke about, we see a lot of officers come through, and we talk to a lot of them. Most of them are very, very friendly, like they'll chat with us. But a lot of them have, especially the young guys who are feeling very tactical in their gear, they'll have a dump pouch.
What's a dump pouch? What is a dump pouch?
Basically, it's just an open kind of empty sack that hangs off of your belt. And
what's the purpose?
Well, as far as as far as I can tell from the exposure I've had to it, dump pouches are for dropping magazines in when you're done with them, so that you don't lose them. But some people claim they're just for salty chewies, right? You just throw snacks in there. But I saw one guy the other day, and he had a bunch of stripes, so he'd been in at least, I think he's got at least like 16 years on, and look, he looks relatively young for having that many years, but he's a friendly guy, comes through, and then I realized that he had a water bottle. Like, he had a water bottle in his dump pouch, and I looked at him and I was like, that is the most intelligent use of that sack that I have ever seen in my life. When it's 105 degrees, he's got a water bottle in there.
I've never had a dump pouch. Yeah.
I've never even heard of them. Like,
I'm trying to think of all my like pouches.
Your gear, yeah.
And like on our pants, we had the big old pockets, which again was just beef jerky.
Yeah, like,
and then
like
I remember
wipes,
having bags,
beef
right?
jerky.
One of them was like for the NVGs, right? The night vision goggles.
sure, you got your big old pouch bag
big
right
old
there.
pouch.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to think like where else I would have put anything else.
Okay.
in
Yeah.
This, you just blew my mind. I'm a young, like, former Marine just stepping out of 1995, and now I'm in 2025.
Yeah.
And Danny just said, "Hey, you need to get a dump pouch." I'm gonna be like, "What? A dump pouch? I gotta carry all this." Oh,
Officer Tony.
edit that out.
Officer Tony. You need a dump pouch.
I need to carry all this other like.
Yeah.
So and then, like, okay, fine. You want to dump your magazines in there?
It's not required, by the way. Like, I know the requirements for duty belt stuff. Those things are not required. It's just stuff that you can carry. It's kind of like I have a glove pouch that I keep an extra handcuff key in and gloves. That's not required either.
Yeah, but
right?
but that has a specific.
Yeah, it
and I
has a
can see that.
purpose, yeah.
You got your medical gloves in there.
We
right?
use them all the time.
I
Yeah,
gotta see a dump
constantly.
pouch. I gotta see one. I'm gonna look one up.
I'll show
tonight.
you after. Yeah, they're huge. They're pretty big.
And if you need to carry a bottle of water, and
I was gonna dump trash in there.
Well, when I saw the water bottle in there, I was like, at least, like, that makes more sense to me than having it for magazines. Like, they're out in the heat, right? You're like, yeah, you keep your water bottle right there. Like, that's fine. You know, I'll put a frozen one in there so that as it melts, it's still cold. You got to think about these things.
How old is this guy?
He was probably, I think he was in his late 30s. I have
Okay,
to
it's
say,
got to be
yeah.
a new thing.
yeah, well, like I said, I'm coming from 1995, and now it's 2025, and you're talking dump pouches. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm still less than a decade out.
You don't have to do that to me.
Well, you said the year. I'm going to say my year.
Isaac's all like this.
I'm saying 2016, right?
You don't have to do that to me. This guy over here throwing me under the bus, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Different things. I different strokes for different folks, I guess,
Yeah.
because but I'm just blown away because I think, and I'm a big proponent of private security. I believe that they should be able to do certain things in certain aspects, but when there's no clear guidelines, right, of what to do, like, you basically took on a contract that said,
Sure, and if there's anything legally that you didn't do, right? So again, having security on your uniforms, you should have done that. You should have clarified, hey, we're security, we're escorting you out. Because I'm not going to say poor lady. You said poor lady. I'm not.
"Oh yeah, no, that's where we differ on this outfit." Yeah.
I honestly, I'm tired of people like that. I am. It doesn't matter what side you are on. Just stop doing that. Just let people talk. Because it just seemed like that. That's what it was. I have disagreements too, but I'm not going to places to just yell at people. With that being said, the security guards should have said, hey, we're security, you need to go. And then called who?
The deputies.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done. They should have just called police.
Or it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if she called 911 and called the local PD.
On those guys.
on those guys
That'd be- yeah.
right after.
She probably did.
because
I imagine she.
how would they react?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
okay, like,
Well, there goes another one. It's like, what does local PD do, right? What would they do in that situation? So,
yeah, because I always think about when it comes to fights with security and all that. I always think about bouncers. I do,
Yeah.
because say
Yeah.
you get in a bar fight and they kick you out,
Mhm.
but they broke your finger, right?
Mhm.
Are they going to be held liable?
yeah, again, okay. They're
Like-
kicking you out, private lot.
You're on private property,
You're not following the rules or whatever it is.
right? Do they have the right to touch you?
You know who was? This is secondhand information, but you know who was famous or infamous for doing that before he started his acting career? Was Bruce Willis. He was a bouncer before he started his
Bruce
acting
Willis?
career. Yeah,
Wow.
he was a bouncer
Wow.
before he started, so he was notorious for like chasing people out of the building,
Wow.
like
How tall is
putting
he?
hands on.
I
Willis.
don't- yeah, because
It's just his attitude, man. He's
it
like
has to be. It has to be. You pulled the Die Hard one.
right. That's why he's himself in every movie, because he's still on the inside. He's still that bouncer.
He's still that bouncer chasing people down. He's like, yeah, he's on Merry Christmas. Yeah, man. But I've always thought about that. But you're right. You're in a private area. It's a business.
Yeah.
You get in a fight. Security escorts you out. They break your finger because they try to do a wrist lock or something, right? Escorting you out. Are they held liable? What's the liability on that?
Mhm.
So, and then what does the responding cop say? I'd be like, dude, you just broke that guy's finger. Like, that's pretty gross, man. Like,
Yeah, and I know with bouncers, I mean, do they have to be? I guess it depends on where they're at, right? But let's say in Arizona, do bouncers have to be in uniform or identify themselves, or can they just be like chucking people out?
they could probably be chucking people out because that would probably be considered an in-house security department.
Okay.
Which, by the way, DPS is not regulated, and that's part of the reason why I think you guys suck, because in-house departments do need to be regulated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very weird to see that, and I'll just use this as an example, an in-house security department for a hospital. Those guys can dress
Mhm.
as police officers. They can dress any way they want. They can carry anything they want. It's up to them how they're trained,
Mm.
but they're not regulated. Like, so
That seems like a loophole, like a gigantic
yeah, for any
loophole.
in-house
Yeah.
in-house department, it's that way. So it's you would think that you'd at least want them to have a guard card of some sort. But hey, I digress. I'm trying to make up with the Department of Public Safety. I love you. I think you're the greatest. No, so we're up for our license this year, and they just turned back our paperwork, and they said that I didn't include a copy of the driver's license. Do it. Do you think I would not include a copy of the driver's license?
Honey child.
It's,
Honey child, you don't know what you're doing, honey child. And then what I did this year too was
denied stamp.
she said, "Oh, this fool."
She had it in protective glass just in case of emergencies. Just in case Tony turns in
Tony
his
name
paperwork.
pop up. No. I wised up this year, right? So this year we're putting Mike, my business partner, as the qualifying party, and I'm just the associate manager. So any more issues, they have to call Mike, and we'll see how many calls Mike gets. We'll see how many calls. My guess is none. So
Pray for Mike.
yeah, well, it just, and then yeah.
Hashtag pray for Mike.
So
All right. Any closing points for these guys from any of you guys? Because I really do want to hear from the comment section What do you feel about it? How do you feel about this whole situation? But go ahead.
Yeah, I do wonder if so I'm trying to think back on this, going back pretty far, but the "Don't Tase Me Bro" situation, right? Wasn't it a similar venue that was happening there? It's been a while since I've gone back and reviewed what actually happened there. Wasn't he in a similar venue?
I think so.
Town hall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he was being as disruptive as she was in this case. But that gets into use of force stuff, which is probably a whole separate conversation. But,
Well, we didn't even dwell into that part. I mean, hands-on is a use of force.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a level of use of force. So, my opinion is that once again, I circle back to the sheriff. I think he made the biggest mistakes by not taking lead, and then I also blame the owner of the company, whoever decided to take on this contract.
Yeah.
The ones I feel bad for are the line security officers, because they have very little either training, guidance. Because once again, if I'm working that town hall, I'm like this: what do we do?
Yeah.
Well, what do we do? So
Yeah, you bring up a good point. This is a good case study, I guess, for people training into the security guard.
right, that just
Arena,
it just blows my mind. I think the sheriff and the company owner have the most liability because they let those other three guys hang. So
That's the silver lining, though. That it's going to be a training video for the rest of time. Hopefully, it's like, this is like, what do you see here? What's going on here? And then like the class being able to give feedback on.
well, I have to go back like this. If you want training,
Yeah.
you look up azsecuritygroup.com, ding, and then get trained by the best.
Don't train like these guys. You just show the video. Train like these guys.
On customer service and got a pink uniform because we don't want to look tactical. So yeah.
It says Honey Child Security.
Denied. You didn't put your copy of your driver's license in there, fool. This is what they did. All right. Hey, Danny, thanks a lot for catching up, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate
take your time.
that, man. It's great seeing you again. And, man, we got to do this more often. I'll pick out more topics as we go along because I think this was a great discussion. Man behind the mic,
Absolutely.
you going to wake up today?
I hope so. Yeah.
All right. Hey, thank you
you,
for
guys.
turning in, and we appreciate you. Have a great day.